Yeah, and he just got back from England, where he, for the second time, this was like a 4-week secondary course that he did. He has his master's certification for suspension.
What?
Yeah, and we're starting a suspension company, so he's like the master suspension tech. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Okay.
Dude,
And you know what? It was funny.
Well, his whole turnaround came when I gave him Think and Grow Rich.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I gave him Think and Grow Rich, and I said, Jamie, if this book does 1% of what it did for me, then it will change your life.
Yeah.
I'm like, just because Jamie was like, he really looked up to me in that sense, that I think he saw me at the very beginning stages of creating change.
Yeah.
And it started to happen really rapidly. And he was like, how? He was like, what's going on here? And I'm like, just do what I did. Read this book and do everything this book says, no matter what, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yep.
And he started there, and now he's like an avid reader. I mean, he speaks completely differently. All of his belief systems are completely different. He's a different person. He got divorced through a series of unfortunate events, but it turned out for the better. And now he's with this amazing woman who makes and has made a lot of money, like a super successful woman. Yeah. And for him, it's happening really quickly too.
So he must be
cool.
like so grateful for like your relationship, and
it just happened at the perfect time, I think, where it was, you want a magic mind? Or you're gonna skip it?
I'll do it
Okay.
for the pod.
Magic mind. There you go. I'll remind you of what's in here. We have lion's mane, a couple of different mushrooms for smooth, crystal clear mental performance. We have some ashwagandha and turmeric, less stress, some matcha, some vitamins in there. Do you drink coffee?
I just started this year.
You did? Okay. This is what I'm testing now as my coffee substitute.
Oh, you're addicted to coffee?
No, but I drink it too. Are you addicted to those?
I'm contemplating that I might be addicted.
I'm just trying to supplement a little bit more of because here's the problem with coffee is if I have one sip too many, I feel like, oh, that was one sip too many. And I really don't feel good. It'll mess up my appetite, and this does everything that coffee does, but better, less jittery, more clear focus.
I like it.
It sustains for longer.
Yep.
And it's just more healthy. So
do you ever get into that heart attack phase with coffee?
Yes, literally at one sip too many.
Yeah.
Where it's like all of a sudden I'm like, whoop, that overdid it.
I was at work and literally sat down and someone put a coal pack on my back. And I'm like, is this a coffee thing? Because I'm so new to it. And they're like, how many cups did you have? And I'm like, it was free. The drug rep came into our business and was like trying to sell us stuff. And I'm like, it's free coffee.
Allie gets like anxious when she's on coffee. Yeah. I mean, this stuff so far, we're still in our testing phase. I had it last time I was on the podcast with you, stopped it for a while because just like for me, out of sight, out of mind, I ran out and I forgot to get more. Mm-hmm. Now I'm testing again. They're doing a Black Friday sale, guys. Go to magicmind.com/TMABF. That's the Moto Academy Black Friday, TMABF. Magicmind.com/TMABF. 50% off.
That's insane. How are they?
I thought our sales were good.
They're giving it away.
50% off if you buy before December 6th. That's amazing. Okay, go check it out. It's good. I'm telling you. And he's had it. We had two or three last time.
Yeah, we had fun.
So I prepared.
I love it.
But it's difficult to prepare because it's like we always. I could sit here and I could read an entire book to you, and
we could
then keep going. Yeah. But thank you for gifting. By the way, we suck at this. Dr. J. Cav.
Am I supposed to clap for myself?
Yeah. How many times have you been on the podcast?
I think this is my third
3?
time.
Yeah. Yep. And we live, 4.5 minutes from each other. And I will take full credit for the fact that I am just not a good friend. Everybody knows this. Jeremiah knows this. Rob knows this. Rob gave me a lecture last time he was with me.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you start? What was like the first line? How do you kick it off?
He said, you need to talk to your friends more. Yeah.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah. He said, you need to
true.
call your friends more. You need to keep in touch with your friends. He's like, who are your friends? And I'm like, well, you're my best friend probably.
Yeah.
And he goes, AJ, I haven't talked to you in months. I'm like, I know.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't talk to anybody.
I figured you would at least talk to Rob.
No. Allie talks to Rob. Allie is my conduit to, if I have a friend, she's the friend. I only talk to my employees, and it's like my employees then become my friends. And yeah, he was giving me a lecture. And I didn't disagree, but at the same time, I don't know how to find that balance, because I'm very much in a phase of my life where I like the amount that I don't use my phone that much. And that's the problem.
It's the best.
Right? If I had my phone on me like I did a year and a half ago or 2 years ago all the time, then there's definitely no excuse. Like I could have been texting anyone at any time. Mm-hmm. I just straight up never have my phone on me now, ever. And I think we talked about this probably a little bit on both of the other podcasts.
Yeah, because I don't even have notifications on. I literally could have my phone in my hand, and if you're calling me, unless I'm looking at it, I have no idea.
Yeah, same. And I think the last time we spoke, I had just recently kind of initiated like hey, I'm not bringing my phone up to bed with me anymore, right?
Yes.
And that's sort of where it started. And then that was just like, that got me started on knowing what it feels to not have the anxiety of that phone being near me and then forget about it. Now it's just, I've actually kind of come full circle. It got to the point where I then like became enemies with my phone. And then I knew that wasn't healthy either. So I had to circulate back to a healthy relationship with my phone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, because everything is like a pendulum. You kind of have to like go to an extreme sometimes.
Yeah.
And like even
to recognize that you're at that extreme.
Yes. And then you swing back, and then sometimes you need to go back again, but then you usually you end up somewhere, realizing that somewhere in the middle is the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And that's where I'm trying to find that sweet spot, but as of now, my friends are being neglected.
Yeah, and it was
So,
funny
sorry.
because you had one of your guys message me to do a podcast. I was like, AJ can't message me? I'm like, is this where we're at?
Wait, was it for this one?
No.
Oh,
for
one of
like
the other
last
ones?
week.
Yeah.
I wasn't available, so I said, I'm not available. And then I'm like, wonder if AJ messaged me through the app. And I'm like, no. He had one of his guys do it. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, I will say, to my defense, I didn't set, that was that was autonomous.
oh, no. Yeah.
Although don't put that past me.
Don't let me off the hook too easy.
It's because it's tricky. It's like my employees are delegated to certain things. So if they're delegated to that thing, don't let me take a little fraction of that, because then I will drop the ball or communication will get mixed somewhere along the line. So if somebody's booking me for podcasts and that person isn't me, I'm not touching it. Mm-hmm. Let that person book the podcast, right? Brett Q kind of goofed on me with the same thing. He came to class, summer camp at Sunset Ridge, and he's like, man, it must be nice to have all these people doing everything, huh? He's like, I didn't even talk to you once before I just showed up today. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but like, we needed to book you, and it wasn't going to be me that was booking you. And so, yeah.
Well, you think about like leverage and, maximizing your time. Like I pay a lot of attention to like per hour, how much I'm getting paid for how much pleasure and how much time I'm donating to something. And it's amazing. Once I made that my metric, instead of like just how much money can one make, I really started looking at the per hour, and it changed everything for me. And now it's been a focus, and it's really helped me out a lot,
Have we talked about the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell?
No, I haven't read that one yet.
Well, you gifted me this one. Can I gift you? Do you have the capacity to read a book right now?
Yeah, I definitely do.
I'm going to give you the book if I can find it. It creates an algorithm for how much your time is worth on an hourly basis, like whether you're working or not, just like 1 hour of your time, what is it worth? Mm-hmm. And the whole premise of the book is this guy insists on, and I was kind of doing this unknowingly, delegate anything and everything that is worth less than what your hourly rate would be. Mm-hmm. Anything, like laundry, dishes, sending an email, anything. And I was already starting to do that because I'm like, I just don't want to be putting my energy and focus towards things that I don't want to be doing. If somebody loves mowing the lawn and like that's their passion is like hopping on their John Deere and going to mow that lawn, excellent. But if you dread mowing the lawn, don't mow the lawn for 2 hours because you could probably pay somebody less than what your time is worth to go and do that thing.
Oh yeah, I just had someone do my leaves. Took him 6 hours.
Yeah.
He wanted $180. I gave him 2.
Great.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I got 6. That 6 hours is like a day."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, days worth of work. I mean, I thought it was
I did my leaves last year. Big mistake.
No. Although I have to admit,
a guy that made fun of me every time he walked by because he just saw I was shoving them into like regular size garbage bags.
Oh no.
And I was really stuffing those things full, but it was like I had 1,000,000 bags and I wasn't even making a dent. And he would like walk the street, and there was a couple days in a row where I'm out there doing it, and he'd see me every day at the same time, just shoving more bags full. And he's like, "Oh, still at it, huh?"
Well, if you ever had one of those blower packs on your back, and then you have the thing, it's kind of weird because you feel the first time you do it, maybe a landscaper is going to be like, "Dude, that's not how it feels." But for someone who's never done it before,
Feels
it's
like
empowering.
you have a jetpack.
Yeah, you have what you imagine to be a jetpack on your back, and then you have this handle, and you have like the throttle on your right, and then you just hit it, and it's woo. I mean, and
Do you own one?
No, but I tried one.
Oh yeah, that
The
sounds
only
fun.
problem that they don't warn you about is I bent forward to tie my shoelace,
And you went
and
in
I
there.
almost didn't get back.
Oh yeah, because it's
And I
heavy on
can't
your
believe I
back.
didn't think of that.
Yeah,
Like, how did I not catch that? Because I had like a couple twigs and stuff, got in, like undid my shoelace.
Yeah.
And then I went over and I was like, oh God. I thought I was gonna have to like do like
but
a
then you
forward
just
flip.
aim it that direction and blow it, and maybe it'll.
See, I wasn't thinking
Right
about
back
back my
up.
feet.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was hyper focused on my shoelace.
Hopefully we're recording. Okay, we are. What have you been up to?
Oh, you know what I started last night?
What?
In this winter, I get bored. So I said, you know what? I've always wanted to play an instrument. So I literally last night, no joke, last night, today's Tuesday, last night, Monday, after I was done teaching my class online, I ended up, my buddy, Dave, who you have to interview. He is the Stark king. He lives right down the street. And he knows everything Stark.
Does he have one too? Is that who you were talking about? That
Yeah, got the knowledge he has, it's insane. And so he's got great stories too, because he used to run Travis Pastrana's compound.
Oh, cool.
But he lives right down the road, and he's got amazing information on Stark. But anyways, him and I went golf. There's an indoor golf facility right down the road from here. Did you know that?
Is it the
Chris Cote's, you go past it. You
Yeah.
go past the outdoor facility, and then
Yeah.
you go to 66, and where you take a right to go to like Middletown, it's on the right. But anyways.
Yeah, that's where I've lived there. Remember?
Yeah, exactly. You still
Yeah.
live there.
Oh, that's an
Yeah, you
indoor
literally live
thing?
right there.
Yeah.
Like go
Next
a little
door.
further on the right, and one of those white.
Yeah, the very first house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we played that, and then on the way back, we had fun. And I said, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Dude, don't you know guitar? I thought you were in a band or something." He goes, "Why are you asking me?" And I'm like, "I want to start guitar like tonight." He's like, "Dude, just follow me to my house." Followed him to his house. He hooked me up. He's like, "Hey, I'll sell you this." I don't even know what it's called. I literally don't know what it's called. That's where the music comes out. It's not like an amp, or maybe it is an amp.
Yeah.
But it's got all these fancy controls on it. And then he gave me a guitar that Travis gave me. He said, borrow this, and if you do it for 30 days and you like it, then go ahead and we'll buy a guitar. Like I'll guide you on what to buy. And
How are you planning on learning? Like YouTube or something?
YouTube, yeah,
Yep.
for now. So
That'll do the trick.
Yeah.
I've started learning the piano and I stopped, but I learned so much in 4 days of just YouTube. And what's cool about the piano, at least, is I learned a couple of chords to where I could play what sounded like I really knew what I was doing
yes,
in like 25 minutes.
yes,
But I don't know. You'll have to fill me in on how your experience is with the piano. At least one, I'd get crazy hand fatigue and arm fatigue, but I would also like my brain would just be like, nope. After I could sit down for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time to learn, and then after that, it was like I'd have to step away. It was just too much.
I think 30 was what I hit, and that's when I started fading. And you're right. There's two chords. It was like, I think it's called E major and A major. And when you played it, and the guy said, hey, if you can transition from E to A, E to A, E to A, he goes, it could sound like this. And this is like day 1, night 1, lesson 1. It's at like the 27-minute mark, and he's going just from E to A, E to A. So only 2 chords. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And I'm like, I'm just going to do that right now. And then I couldn't get from E to A.
No.
Yeah, I had to spend too much time. So I think it's very similar.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's like a thing where, because I saw another video that came, because YouTube literally knows what your problem is before you know you have a problem.
Yeah.
I literally came home, cooked a steak before I came here, and on my YouTube, it said, hey, are you struggling to get from one chord to another? I'm like, yeah, dude, I am. Tell me more.
Oh my
Click
God.
the button. So
you're going to stick to it for now?
for
It's
now,
just
I
hard
think
because
so.
it's hard to find time to learn a new thing, but music really interests me. I've said this in podcasts many times. Like, I love music and I just don't have any musical talents.
Well, when's
and I
the last
want
time
her
you
to.
developed one?
Then never have
Then that's why
a
you don't
musical
have
talent.
musical talent.
Right. So yeah, I probably do have a musical talent hidden somewhere. I just haven't brought it to the surface yet.
Yeah, your brother's a
Yeah.
successful DJ.
Yeah. I just feel like I'm like Rick Rubin, where he has no actual specific musical talents, but he's like the guru producer where he just puts his hands on something and he knows what to do. That's me. So I'm just going to stick with that.
I think
But I want
figure it
Millie to learn. So I want to learn with her. But
Oh, I like that. So
I
you're gonna delay a
will
little bit.
say though that like having the mindset that I have now makes learning a lot easier. A lot easier. Like, you can be easy on yourself enough to like go through the process of learning instead of just
Beating
like,
yourself up.
yeah, because that's what almost anyone would do, right? Is like you start and you don't know how to do it. So you're frustrated and then you beat yourself up and you give up before you even begin. That's really how it was with flying, because flying was the most difficult thing that I had attempted to do with no prior knowledge at all. And the first day that I went up in that plane, I was just like so much to think about and so much to do. And right away, before I even experienced any frustration, I just started breaking it into steps. And I'm like, okay, this guy's sitting next to me. If at any point I don't know what I'm doing, I'll let him do it. But I'm just going to break this one piece at a time. But you have that finite, for sure. Like, I was up in the plane. I think we were up for less than an hour each time, and it was too much. It's like 30 minutes is almost like that window of learning time, where anything beyond that of like aggressive learning, it's just like it overloads a little bit.
Well, don't you find too that one thing I noticed in respect to that comment is that if I get stuck on a thing, it almost becomes like the new governor. It's like a governor. And so all of a sudden you're learning and learning, like, okay, that makes sense. All right, step 1, I got to hit this button. All right, step 2, got that. Let's say we get to step 4 and it all makes sense, but step 5 doesn't. And then he's like, oh, step 5 is easy. You do this and this. If someone starts talking about step 6, I'm like, whoa, I can't move on because I don't understand step 5. And then immediately that becomes like the limit. And then it's like the governor. And then it's like, hey, I need to stop. And if that's 10 minutes, then 10 minutes is it. If it's 20, then 20 is it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That gives me empathy for people that are at my classes sitting there all day learning all of the things. That's a lot. I was talking about it today with some app members, and that they were saying that of any class setting or facility or anywhere they've ever been, nobody's ever taught them how to jump other than me. And the first thing I thought is like, I am still very much in the process of like trying to figure out how to create the process to tell somebody how to jump. Like, I've been teaching people how to jump for a while, but I never created like a proper process that somebody could follow. And now that I'm starting to create that process, that's a lot to build to and expect somebody to build to in one day. It's like not going to happen.
Yeah.
But don't know where I was going with that. But it's just like, you have to break the learning into bites that you can swallow.
Super true.
And maybe just know when to stop and practice that thing before moving on to the next thing. We have a bunch of questions. I kind of want to use those to guide us.
Yeah, sure.
I also, when it's appropriate, I have a couple of these pages open and I wanted to read a couple of sentences to you.
Yeah.
Just when I think that they're relevant.
In the intro, did you say what I do for work or no?
No, because I suck at this. Would you like to tell people what you do?
I'm a mental performance coach.
And are you working
Yeah.
Day
I
job?
have my side hustle, which is an eye doctor.
The side hustle is the eye doctor.
Yeah.
How often are you're doing online? I love, by the way, I saw a video of your setup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Super cool. I would love to get set up like that, like the whiteboard type, the smart board that you had
so
with like
good.
the backlighting and the whole deal. Love it. So are you doing those once a week, or are you doing those multiple times a week?
It's once a week, but it's starting to get, it's been a consistent, steady growth over the last year or two, quite a bit of growth. And so now it's getting to the point where I'm probably going to have to add either another day or another time slot. Because right now I feel comfortable with the amount of people in the group, but our group has gotten better. The quality of people has gotten better. But I'm at that limit where it's about 20, and you know, because you do groups as well.
Yeah.
It seems like for me around like 15 to 20 is nice. 25 you start to notice. And so I need to figure that piece out.
Are you doing an hour?
I was
longer?
doing a half hour, then I went to 45 minutes, and now we're at an hour. I went back and forth like a pendulum. At first, it used to be an hour all the time. Then I was like, I'm losing people, and I went back to like I went as low as 20 minutes. Then I was like, that's too low. I went to 30, and I've just been swinging around. But ever since I got the vibe board, I can really get crystal clear on my lessons, and I can really make it interactive, and I can write things down. And
I love that.
We're visual characters. You know,
yeah.
we're visual beings, and I think that there needs to. You really need to hyper focus on the visual part. You know, like even
Big
when
time.
you're.
That's why people like my stuff.
Yeah,
because I
'cause you can show.
demonstrate it and it's
Yes.
crystal clear. Yeah,
It's
that's why
huge.
I love the idea of that. What's it called?
It's called a vibe board, like the vibe board.
Like a vibe.
Yeah, like vibe, like good vibes, like the vibe mindset. Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because the tricky thing is on this podcast all the time, I'm sitting here explaining things in depth sometimes. And in my brain, as I'm talking, it's a very clear picture. Right? And I feel like I'm trying to create that picture, but it's much easier to just draw a picture. Or to just like write words and arrows and things to create that visual. 100%. When I'm learning and I'm seeing that, one person I think that does a good job of that is Alex Hermosi.
Yes.
He's a business guy.
Yes,
And he always has that whiteboard and he's drawing stuff on there. Just so helpful.
Yeah, it totally is. And, you know, even to your point, like the simplicity of, you know, if I talk about like one of the big things for my people is, you know, I get in my head and I can't get out. It's like, all right, well, if you're in your head, and I'll draw like a picture of a circle, that becomes the head. And I'm like, you need to get out of the head. And I draw an arrow that goes into another thing, and it looks like a stick figure. And it's like, you need to get out of your head and into your body. That's how you can calm your mind, calm your nerves, and get out of your head. You need to go from here to there. And there's something about that, even just an arrow. It's like literally a circle and the cheesiest stick figure you've ever seen. But for some reason, it just puts it together. So
Yeah, well, I think maybe a good way of explaining that, for me at least, is it goes from somebody trying to like analytically think of something to feeling it and understanding it. That's when like people have the light bulb moments.
yes.
And that is only possible when you create the mental image of what that thing is.
Yeah, or even like an analogy. Analogies or
Right.
metaphors, huge. Like I'm leaning on that a lot more. I'm like, it's kind of like I actually intentionally try to say that. It's kind of like if you were, and then I think about something that people normally would do, and then I make that analogy, and I've learned that that's extremely
Sometimes that's
helpful.
all it takes, and it'll just hit and it'll resonate with one person, or like, oh, I get it.
But simplicity is underrated, because I'm at the same stage as you, where most, I would say, maybe not most, but at least I'd say a third to a half of my time is spent figuring out how to take the pieces of knowledge I have. Like I created something called the CALM method, which has been super helpful, because I packaged managing your nerves into this 4-step process of like pretty much like boom, 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 boom. And it's super simple. And I keep making it even more simple. But even just something as simple as managing your thoughts, like I'm still working on how to package that and how to really, you know, like I have this thing called come to your senses, which is how you get out of your head and into your body. You come to your senses, which basically means you move into your sense perceptions. And it really, really works. And so coming up with names, making the visual, and making it simple, because I find that the more confident I get with something, the the easier it is to simplify. But I find that when you tend to doubt, or at least when I tend to doubt personally, I will sometimes ramble a little bit. Like if it's a topic that maybe I'm just stretching out of my comfort zone, or maybe haven't covered in depth as many times as I should have, I'll talk longer.
Yep.
But then I'm like, that's not helping anyone. It needs to be condensed.
I always have a fear of that a little bit when I'm at class. Not that I ever am talking about anything that I'm basically a master. I'm getting close to being a master at what I do. I don't know if I want to say I'm a master yet, because it's like always a process, but I know what I'm talking about. And it's like, I always am self-conscious about trying to keep it short. It's so easy to keep talking because you think it sounds nice, and you're like, you lost that person 45 seconds ago or a minute and a half ago. But it's difficult. And it's also difficult on the learning process for us, because your attention will go to different things. And then therefore you think other things are then important and take precedent. Like all the books behind me on that shelf, or the books behind me here, as I've dug a little deeper, my attention has gone to different things. And then sometimes I'll circle back and I'll be like, oh no, you know what? I got to just stick with this. Like, it's simple. Stick with this. Like the way that Joe Dispenza explained things to me, like, it is so simple. And it's like, you almost don't have to go anything outside of even what Joe Dispenza talks about to understand. And then I start diving into, I was listening to a Jordan Peterson podcast, and he was talking about the user illusion, which is, he said, the best book he's ever read on consciousness. And I'm like, oh, well, ordering that book. And that's the top book back there, User Illusion. And deep into consciousness. Really? And holy cow, it is at times ultra confusing, but like enlightening. And there's so many things to learn in there, but it's almost too complex in a way. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, now after I've read that, I've gone right back to psycho-cybernetics, which I don't know where I put that behind me, maybe, like really basic. That's what I like about the Power of Your Subconscious book. Mm-hmm. Pretty basic. And it gives a lot of good examples. Psycho-cybernetics is right there. Yeah. And then the Breaking Habit of Being Yourself, Joe Dispenza, to me is such a simple, straightforward way. And I've been filming these mindset courses and I don't want to call them courses either, because I don't know what to call them.
Workshop?
Sure.
I've been using workshops.
Yeah. Just mindset workshops. Mm-hmm. Sure. And trying to figure out where to begin and then what the heck to talk about. So the way I did it is I created fundamentals, like I did with Moto Academy and the riding technique. Mm-hmm. And the fundamentals for Moto Academy mindset are understanding ego was basically the first one, and understanding self-image, and that like it is a made-up story that you've created for yourself. And all the books that I tend to resonate towards, all three of those are all about self-identity, ego, self-image, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the subconscious just automatically doing the thing. And it's the story that you've told yourself over and over and over again. To me, that's simple, but it's hard to explain simply, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because I mean, the way I break it down with ego is I think about there's a higher self, and I go through different names, because you can name it self 1, self 2, higher self, lower self, ego, higher self. There's so many different ways you can go with it. But I always just try to get the point across, and it's difficult to get it that you are not your thoughts, and you are not your feelings. Like, this is like your past, your beliefs, your values, your experiences, the way that you've interpreted them, the meaning you've placed on them. And then there's this higher consciousness, which I wouldn't say I'm religious, although for the first time I talked about like going to church, because I just went to a funeral, and I was like, God, I'm like, the priest was kind of like, I liked how he thought, because he's almost like he was talking like a mental coach. And I was like, whoa, I'm vibing with this guy.
Cool. Where?
Near Lake George, New York. Okay.
Because I'm curious I'd love to find a church where I resonate with what the person is saying. Haven't found it yet, but
yeah, no, it's. And so, but what's interesting is it's very similar. When you start getting into the mental game, it's hard to not start being drawn to religion a little bit and start thinking about like spirituality, religion. Like I study a lot of different religions, and I just try to look at, like there's this thing I brought up. I don't know if I brought up with you before, but this thing called the Kabbalah. I legit don't even know who believes in it. I don't know.
I watched a video on it. What did you say? Kabbalah?
Kabbalion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Watched a video on it last night and never heard of it in my life. And I listened to a 1.5 hour video of this guy talking, and I'm like, this guy might as well be me talking because it's exactly everything I believe in. I'm like, I've never heard of that before.
And the crazy thing is, it might even be like from the Middle East. I don't know. I think it's out in that direction, but I don't even know. But I
it's
also
super logical. I love it. It's great.
But I almost kind of don't care to know, like, because I agree. Like, I don't need to know what the story of these people are, where they're from, what's the socioeconomics. Like, I like what they say. And I think there's like 7 or 11, like, I don't know if the word's tenets to the Kabbalion, but it's interesting as hell. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to re-listen to the book. There is a audiobook. I'll send it to you. I'll find it. It's really, really good. And it's got lessons that literally people that want to become better at racing a motorcycle could gain value from that book. And so to bring it back to the original question, which is like, you have to understand, like, if you could just get that there is a part of you that is the ego, and then there's this other part of you which is a higher self, which is essentially consciousness, and so even if someone asked me, like, I was thinking about the other day, I'm like, I don't know if I have the courage right now to say it, but if someone ever asked me, like, so who are you? And I'm like, I am consciousness. And it's like, that's really all you are. And then the ego is just a part of like who your experience is. But if you can at least be consciousness and be aware of the ego and be aware of, oh, look at me reacting to this like I did when I was 7 or 8. Look at me responding in a way that I always do. This is why, but if you can be the observer of your thoughts and of your feelings, but not identify with them. See, that's the mistake that people make, is if you have a thought, right? To me, I imagine like a thought is like a cloud, like literally, like, how in cartoons they have like thought clouds. And so I'm like, that's a thought. It's floating around. I get to choose whether it's true or not, and whether I identify with it. Like, is this thought true? Is it accurate? Do I really suck? Am I really not good enough? Am I really not going to do well at this moto? Am I really not capable of turning expert from amateur? If I've been amateur so long, I might as well just stay here. And you start to realize, like you said, there's like narratives, there's stories, but they all start with like a thought that you identify with, or even a feeling. Like, oh God, I'm such a nervous person. Whoa, why would you ever say that? Like, you're basically taking it and bringing it as part of who you are. Create some separation, create some distance. Be like, no, I'm just experiencing anxiety. And the reason I'm experiencing anxiety because what I'm focusing on and what I'm thinking. And so that's the awareness.
The subconscious cannot reason like your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind cannot argue controversially. Hence, if you give it wrong suggestions, it will accept them as true and will proceed to bring them to pass as conditions, experiences, and events. All things that have happened to you are based on thoughts impressed on your subconscious mind through belief.
There you go.
Yeah, and the sneaky thing is it happens without people realizing. To most people, right? It's just these limiting self-beliefs that people don't even know are there in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then I think, and you used to do this to me all the time. I actually remember a very specific time among many, I'm sure, where you caught me in my vlogs in Supercross. This is probably, I would guess, 2018, 2019, 2020, where I was facetiously kind of like making fun of myself, or like saying I was afraid of this or I couldn't do that, because I was trying to like make myself more relatable to the audience, but I didn't realize or understand the importance of the fact that doesn't matter how I'm saying it. If I think I'm being sarcastic or kidding, that's downloading. And I'm saying I'm not this, I am this, I'm not this. And I remember you sent me a text or called me, or no, you sent me a WhatsApp voice message. I remember this because I was walking around in the paddock and I listened to the voice message and I was like, yeah, he's right. He's right.
Yeah, there were some classic mistakes that you made, and I knew that was what was holding you back the most. And I knew what your potential was. And so that's where I used to get so frustrated. And I think many of us did, including Rob and Jeremiah, because we knew what your actual ability was. Like I think back in the day, it was like you look at your riding technique and it was like, wow, Like he's so good. He's not the worst thing was like, you're not even trying and yet you're that good. It's like, oh my God, does he not see? And it's always the same thing. Does he not see what I see? And you start to realize.
I didn't,
Yeah, you
obviously.
didn't. Yeah.
I had piles and piles and piles of just one limiting self-belief after another. And I didn't even know enough to just ask a few questions as to like, why?
Is it really
like,
true?
just, yeah. That's all it takes. And that's what I've really done a lot of lately in my lessons is like, I get people to ask questions when they're fearful of a jump or they're worried about this or that. Any age person, I go up to them and just ask them a few questions and then have them. I'm like, that's not rhetorical. Answer the question, yes or no.
Yeah.
And once we get a little deeper, usually it just takes 3, 4, 5 questions, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, why was I worried about that? I've got a game plan now, right? Yeah, it's frustrating. It's like, gosh, I feel bad. That's why I remember apologizing to you on one of the podcasts because I'm like, thank you for everything that you've done. And I'm so sorry that I was just so blind for so long. It's unbelievable. I'm grateful for all of it now because I feel like it is helpful for me in trying to help others in that sense, right? Where I can relate. And but it was one Supercross season and 1 year after another of doing the same thing and making the same mistakes. And I was just like, 13 years is probably of my pro career of doing that. Isn't that insane?
And that's why it's so important to become the observer of your ego and to be like, oh, wow, look, this is how this is a belief that I have. Maybe I should question it. This is a pattern I have. Maybe I should modify it. This seems to be a story I keep telling myself. Maybe I should change the story. You know, why is my story always based on fear and not based on faith? Not the religious faith, but just the belief, you know, I don't know what the future holds, but I think things are going to go well, as opposed to I don't know what the future holds and I think things are not going to go well. It's like, why, if you don't know what the future holds, why would you not choose faith? And it's just ridiculous, you know? And when you start to catch yourself and you get to the point, like I can in real time catch myself all the time.
Yeah.
Make a mistake and I will catch I'm like, oh, look at you. Look at you. Look at you. And,
and that requires disconnecting and being the observer. Without that, it's impossible because you're the subconscious just automatically doing it. The more you do that, the better you get to where it's like the refractory period of like going subconscious and getting pissed off for 45 minutes can turn into like 3 seconds.
Oh yeah.
It all started when you had me playing the reset game. And I know we talked about that many times, but like,
that's right.
That was the very rudimentary first introductory of that to me was like reset.
Yeah.
Reset.
We say it all the time.
Yeah. Reset. Got it. Yeah.
I think we were in Arizona and we went kind of buck wild on it. Glendale, Arizona, Supercross, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think we were just driving around. I think we went to like a Taco Bell or something.
Oh, I remember being in a car at some point, either when you first taught it to me or in the early stages. We were definitely in a car driving somewhere and resets were needed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it was something to do with like we showed up to the race and like I hadn't had my doctor's.
Oh my God.
To have my license, pro license done. Like I hadn't had the physical yet.
We needed to get a physical.
Yeah. So we spent all
over.
Friday, the day before, like A1 or whatever it was, of just like, oh my God, I don't have my pro credential. And the only way to get this is to somehow get a freaking physical today.
Wait, we kind of did something sketch where didn't we fib to like pull it up? We did something that was like.
We did, and I can't remember what it was. We had to go to a CVS thing.
I want to say that I pulled the doctor card.
Yeah, I think so. And he couldn't, he had to sign off on something that he didn't have the ability to do then. Maybe it was an EKG or something like that, right?
Something.
And it was something.
But it worked, whatever it was. But it was so, I remember the moment when we succeeded. I'm like, this might be the most successful moment of my life.
Yeah, because it was like a roller coaster ride of like, I thought it was going to happen. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to race tomorrow. And then it was just like, holy cow.
That to me is the most interesting thing about you is you consistently can be in a unique, odd, like borderline, I don't know if like compromising situation. And then somehow it's like, I don't know, you have this amazing ability to just get like, to just make things happen.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, Jeremiah would always, he goes, AJ, you are like nobody I've ever met. You step in shit and you come out smelling like roses every time.
Every time.
And it is true. And I guess that I did have that underlying belief. So that's good, right? I always had that underlying belief that like it would always work out for the best no matter what. And I didn't know how. So that's good. And I don't know what instilled that in me. I guess like Jeremiah just saying time and time again, like, dude, how did this happen? And then you came out looking like that. Like, there's no way. That's not even possible. Yeah. And I didn't understand how powerful that belief was that I was telling myself. Like, I believe that. Now I understand why. But then it was just like, yeah, of all the things, of all the negative subconscious, like, unconscious behavior I was executing, like, I just believed that, yeah, step in shit, come out smelling like roses no matter what.
But how crazy is it of all the beliefs that you had that didn't serve you, that you had one really powerful one that did? Because that's a powerful belief. Hey, listen, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. But one thing's for sure, I know I'm going to. Like, that's kind of what it was. I mean, that's a really powerful.
Yeah, if you were to choose one, that's a good one.
Yo, yeah, I'd say top 3, top 5 for sure. All day long.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I don't know who would have taught that to me or where it originally stemmed from. I really don't. It was just like, I got to think about that some more one day because that's really interesting. But everybody knows that about me. Yeah. Everybody would always talk like that about me. Like, man, I don't know if they would call me lucky, but it's just like, how the heck did you get out of that the way that you did? Or how did, like, because I've had so many crazy, bizarre things happen. Like even, well, just that, like showing up. Yeah. Who shows up Friday to A1 without their pro card yet and like hasn't had the physical yet? And I was just like, whoops, forgot. Like, let's just, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out one way or another. And yeah, we did.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's interesting.
Man, you must have been pulling your hair out though. The years that you were with me, because it was like peak dumb AJ years. It really was. And you were right there for a lot of those races. Where were you though in your stage? Like had it clicked and had you figured things out yet? Or were you still scratching the surface of starting to figure things out?
I would say maybe I was probably at like 35, 40%.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
So you had begun.
Yeah, I was already coaching people and I was already actively, because I had my first client 8-9 years ago. Well, Brandon Gregoire remember when we did Tyler Bowers? It was you, me, Tyler Bowers. Yep. My first 2 clients were, I may have said this before, but I had Brandon Gregoire and Tyler McAdams.
That would have been 2017 maybe? Does that sound right?
I don't know. I feel like it was longer than that, maybe. Or maybe it was 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. It was like 8-ish years ago, I think.
Yeah, and the first year that you would have been going with me to races maybe was like 2015 JMR, Jeff Roberto years.
Yep.
Right? Suzuki.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, oh boy, 2015 was literally like my rock bottom year almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was all mental, like everything.
Well, not even 99%. Well, 100%.
It was like 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't. We couldn't even scrape the 1% together.
No, you can't. It was 100% mental.
Yeah.
And I wish. Well, I guess that's my goal now. Is like, yes, I love the dirt bike stuff, and I want to help people in dirt bikes. Don't get me wrong, but I am so passionate about like just wanting to help people think a little bit differently.
Oh, it's addicting.
Yeah.
Because just like even if you just went to a really good restaurant, you're like, oh my God, you got to go to this restaurant. Like my favorite restaurant is the one right near Unadilla, the French place. And
There's a French place by Unadilla?
Oh my God, dude.
Really?
Dude, it is pure insanity.
Wow.
And it's literally 15 minutes in the middle of nowhere. Anyone that's gone to Unadilla, you've driven by this place 1,000 times.
And French food, in my opinion, is the best food in the world.
And you have no idea. It literally looks like you just drive by a house.
Wow.
It's insane. It's insanely good. It's so good that I would probably drive all the way out there and stay overnight in Syracuse just to go there, which is like a 4-hour, 3.5 4 hour drive.
Not close.
But when you get excited about something, you want to share it, and then especially something like this, when you realize like it is literally a game changer. I mean, I get messages. I have so many messages that I could show you. Like I literally tear up. Probably most of the times I tear up are from joy, and most of that joy comes in the form of a client being like, "Hey, like, dude, I can't believe I did this," And it's like, here's what happened. You know, you helped me overcome this. And there's such a tremendous buzz because that can stay with someone forever. I mean, Brandon Gregoire just won, I mean, here it is, what, 7 or 8 years, whatever the math is. I think it's 8, but he just won like J-Day 125 Pro and maybe Ultra Pro or whatever. Wow. Yeah, I think he won both. I don't know. Wow. I know he did well. I think he won maybe both.
Yeah, you see people have those breakthroughs and those aha moments, even if it's not like the full blown like breakthrough of like I've not completely figured it out, but like so rewarding. Oh, so rewarding. And yeah, I'm full blown obsessed with it. I really am. I'm like a learning addict. And then in that, as I learn more, I just want to talk about it and like do my best to try to explain it simply and have somebody else go, oh, I get it now too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see it when you get the aha moment. You know? Yeah.
Cool. Let me pull up the questions now because maybe this will help keep us on the rails. Let's see. And we always get good questions. So in the Moto Academy app, if you're not in there already, for gosh sakes, what the heck are you doing?
You're not living. That's what you're not doing.
Definitely not. We got one from Mind Moto. Just a comment question. Dr. J, how do you keep someone motivated when the reward for their efforts feels distant or unclear? How do you keep someone motivated when the reward for their efforts feels distant or unclear?
Distant or unclear. So I think where my mind's going on this one is most people are motivated by outcomes and results. And so they're always looking for that outcome or the result. Well, hey, I keep trying to get top 5 and I've been 7th, 8th, 9th, 12th, 15th, and I'm not getting there. And it's like, well, when am I going to get, when's the reward coming? And I feel like if you get, it's a classic thing that we say all the time, but you can't get away from it. Because I don't know, for some reason I don't like cliches. Everyone's like, oh, trust the process, or it's process over outcome. And I don't know why that gets me so bent, but I hate to say it, but it's true. And so, you hear...
It sucks because all the cliches are true though. So it's like, but why? They have no meaning because they've been said so many times that it's like the meaning has gone out the window.
You nailed it. And that's why I work on trying to I don't like the word try. That's why I work successfully on telling, and this is what I've learned that might help you as well, is I've learned that my mistake in the past couple of years has been that I always feel like I need to teach you something new and different. But the reality is I need to stick to maybe I'm actually working on this right now, either 5 to 7 items, but helping you manage each of those 5 to 7 items by giving you maybe 12 different stories and just see which one resonates with you, and 12 different ways to say the same thing, like trust the process versus the outcome. And that's what I've been working on, So even everyone usually says to me oh, I can't stop overthinking. It's like, all right, well, I've got probably 11 ways that you can get out of overthinking. They're all kind of the same, but not really. They hit different. Maybe a younger female might resonate with one, and then an older male might resonate with another. Someone who's super competitive might like a different version. And so I think the key is just to always be thinking about that. But to go back to the original question, I think that motivation, when it's external, meaning I want my ego to get the validation, I want to post on Instagram, or I just want to tell people, hey, look at me. I always say that to myself, you should see, I got a new truck. It's kind of cool. Oh, nice. And sometimes I get a new truck and I get in, I'm like, look at me. But I say it in a sarcastic way because I'm like, dude, I know I got it for myself. I genuinely like it.
Yeah.
But the old me might have been more the type that's flexing, hey, look what I got, And there still is a little bit of that, but I'm at least aware of it when it happens. Yep. And I find it entertaining. Because I'm like, oh, that's my ego.
It's helpful too, because it's all part of it. It's you being in the ego when you shouldn't be. I've completely stopped. I don't use social media anymore at all.
Oh, nice.
At all.
You're so not missing out.
At all. And I kind of try to catch Allie doing it too. She has subtle moments of the flexes, right? And it's who is that serving? Not really anybody. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that you can use that to motivate people, but
it usually doesn't. Though.
Usually doesn't.
It usually makes them compare them to you and see what they don't have as opposed to what they could have.
Yeah, that's not going to it's not going to sit well with most people. So it's well, why are you doing it in the first place, right? we've got some stuff going on in the backyard right now. Allie went to start talking about it on the podcast the other day. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you start to realize one of the biggest things, and I want to get back to the question too, just to make sure we finish it. But most people don't care about you anyways; they care about themselves. Like
Not most people, all people.
yeah, pretty exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. And which to me is, I love that. I'm not upset by that. I love that. But I think it's amazing how many people are sitting there. It's like, oh my God, like, did I wear this last time for the last podcast? Dude, nobody cares. Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
Yep.
Like
It's a very freeing way to live too.
Yes.
The reason I have nice things, Allie and I talked about this a little bit last podcast. The only reason now that I have nice things is because I want my time to be spent. If my time is being spent doing something, I would like to be doing it sometimes in luxury versus not, right? If I can have the option to be driving a luxury vehicle that drives smooth and it's comfortable and maybe it's massaging my back as I'm driving it versus clunking around or something's breaking down or who knows. Well, if I drive 2 hours a day, which vehicle do you think I'm going to choose?
Yeah.
If I live in this house and I'm spending a lot of time here and we're doing less traveling than normal, I want my house to feel like an oasis and a spa because this is where my time is spent.
Yes.
So it's not about that Instagram flex and like, oh, look at my vehicle. It costs this much and it's this cool. Like, check it out. I don't give a crap. Like, I just want to be enjoying my experience.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why, like, when I get in this truck, I get so excited every single time. I get so excited. When you open the door, there's like a little spider that goes on the ground, like a light or whatever. And like every time I do it, I literally stare at the spider. I'm like, dude, I'm 53 years old and there's a spider that comes out. But I was also a big Spider-Man fan when I was a kid.
Is it,
So
what is it, a Toyota? What's the spider?
It's called a Black Widow.
What brand truck is it? Chevy?
Well, it's a Dodge Ram, but you send it out, like they buy, this company who has a relationship with Dodge will buy it, like the truck, I think, and then they modify it.
So it's like Roush for Ford, but there's a
kind of like
Dodge version.
Kind of like
almost?
that. Yeah, kind of like that. But they also do Fords too. You'll have to see it. It's pretty sick.
Oh yeah, I'll have to check
Like
it out.
it's pretty lifted.
Is it?
And the color is matte battleship gray, which is insane.
Cool.
And the sound system, I had no idea.
Yeah,
that
just
it had sound
fun to have
system.
something nice sometimes.
Yes.
It's just like, forget about everything else or anyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, I will literally sit in my driveway and listen to music for 15 minutes and just play the music and just sit there and every now and then open the door and like watch the spider. But like, dude, the creep, like that's to me not flex. Like I'm literally sitting in the middle of nowhere because you know where I live. Nobody's seeing nothing where I am. But I'm like, this is amazing. And then I have a heated steering wheel. Dude, you want to know what life is? That's what life is.
Yeah.
A heated steering wheel. Insane. But I want to make sure I add one thing to that question.
okay, I want to add something too.
Yes. So I think with motivation, the key is to be motivated to go back to it. Like,
how do you become motivated by the process?
Yeah.
How is that how do you become motivated by the process?
To me, that's the funnest part. Like why is a result? Like a result to me is so fleeting, right? So let's spin that for a second by saying like, why is it I'm not so fascinated by the outcome or result? I'm not fascinated by an outcome or result because once it happens, it's so anticlimactic because then it's over, right? You won a race. Oh my God. Yes, yes, yes. High five, high five. And then it's like, and then before you know it, like if you're at Supercross, well, before you know it, you're cleaning your stinky body, you're taking your boots off, you're taking a shower, and you're back at the airport again, whether you got 15th or 1st, whatever. And it's kind of cool. But like, isn't it fun to like go to to me, I'd rather be at like, I don't know, at the training, at the track, and you just did a moto, and there's you, Dean Wilson, and I don't know, Jason Anderson. I'm just throwing random names out, and you're all just sitting there just bullshitting and just hanging out and just talking like, oh, dude, did you see when I was like going 3, 2, 1? It was like, dude, I cannot believe you saved that. Like, how is that not great? And then also sitting there, maybe looking at segment times and being like, oh, geez, how do we figure this out? I love looking at segment times and trying to figure it out. Then you look at video, you get curious. Like, why not be fascinated and curious about like, how do I get better? Instead of being like, oh, I want to make more money. It's like, dude, there's so many cool ways I can make money. Be fascinated and enamored by that thought process,
Yeah, for me, I look at it as past, present, and future, and like a reward or something that you're looking forward to have. An end result is some made up future scenario that hasn't happened yet. Quite literally, the only thing that you have is the process because it is the present moment. The process is the present moment. Mm-hmm. So there is value in creating the vision and building out the vision of what the future is going to look like. But the only real thing that is real is this moment right here, right now, the present moment, therefore, AKA the process.
Yeah.
So how I would answer that question is I would say you need to just be more mindful of the present moment. So I've been talking a lot about, and like not talking a lot about, but I've been meditating a lot lately. Like I'm like a meditation fiend all the time, any second, 10 seconds here, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes here. And it has allowed me to, in just like any moment, as chaotic as it could possibly be,
Just empty your mind.
Just take a deep breath and just like be there and be grateful for like, whoa, all right. It like, I'm not judging this as good or bad. I'm just here. This is great. It's amazing. Right?
Yeah.
That's what it takes. And then you can forget about, and any end reward becomes completely irrelevant. It's either a materialistic thing. Well, it's only a materialistic thing, actually, because it's what is the end reward? A result or a financial gain to which you do what with? Buy yourself more time if you're smart. The time you have is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no, and the better you get at it, I guess the less materialistic you get, where you then release all attachment to material things, which is a really freeing way to live. It's also when you start attracting all the material things that you want anyways.
Yeah.
So that's like, it's just a whole paradox. It's so hard to explain analytically to somebody how to frame it that way.
Yeah.
But if I could just tell you guys from experience, like everything that I ever wanted, I now have. And the funny thing is, I don't even want it. I don't want it now.
It's so true.
But now I got it, but I don't want, and I got it because I don't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the level of desire, you didn't desire it so bad. Like I when someone says, "Oh my God, I want so bad, what's so bad?" You're done. Like at that point, it's done. Because you're creating lack and separation, so much distance between you and that which you desire.
Yeah.
Desire is, I think we may have talked about before. The word desire is very closely related to fear. You look on the levels of consciousness; it's right next door. It's the same level of hertz. It's a very similar vibe and energy. It's very close to fear. Because if you desire something really, really bad, you fear that you might not have it. So you have to watch out for that.
And the separation is a good word. To me, I visualize like that thing that you want just literally stepping further and further into the future, or like just moving into the future as you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just always just out of reach.
Yeah. You're always chasing it.
Yeah. Oh, that was me. That was definitely me. I was desperate. I wanted everything so bad.
Yeah.
And that is telling when you want something that is subconsciously, that's telling your subconscious that you don't have it. And therefore it is in the future, and it's going to take some amount of time to get to it. But if instead you could just take a deep breath and just be like, man, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah. And then you could also focus on becoming. So like, let's say I want to make more money. If I want to make more money, my process for making more money is not what you might think. I say, what value could I offer? Because money is an exchange of value. How could I increase the value that I offer? How can I become the type of person, the type of mental performance coach that offers more value? And then I just focus on that. So I literally don't even have to think about the money. And I've literally experimented with this so many times, it's almost entertaining, where I would a little bit, all right, for the next 2 weeks, all I'm going to focus on is how can I be an amazing mental performance coach? How can I get better? And I'll literally do that. And it's almost like the leads will come. A random person will reach out to me. Like I have a retinal surgeon I'm coaching right now. Like
it's amazing the synchronicities that will start to kind of pop up. It's almost like you just become a match for that reality.
Yeah.
Right? You start to become a certain type of person, and then that reality, your perception of what's going on, it will just match. It's important for me to make sure that I'm raising the thermostat of like how much money I will allow myself to make. It's easy to have like a limiting belief on like X amount of dollars is like out of reach or impossible, or this is the cap. So I'm definitely cognizant of that. But yeah, other than that, I'm not super money conscious. I'm really not. It's all about the process of the self-development and literally just opportunities and just things pop up and it's like, whoa, this is so cool.
Yeah, because even if you focus on making more money, let's say you make 20 grand a month and you want to make 30. So you want to go from 20 to 30. That's still a result and an outcome. It's no different than wanting to win a race. It's it's the same thing. So you work on the process of like, how do I become, and even if you want to work on the process, you should think about who should you become. So when we go back to that question about motivation, how do I get motivation? How do you become the type of person that doesn't even need to be motivated? How do you, that's all you need to do is become the type of person that's always motivated, or become the type of person that doesn't even care about results, but is always focused on how to become a better version of themselves.
I thought this was going to be a page that synced right up with that. That would have been good. Because the first one I got spot on to what we were talking about.
I could tell when you were grabbing the book. I go, he's got something.
I thought I had it. It's unrelated, but it's great. I'll save it for another time here.
I got you.
It's talking about, well, I'll read it. Why not? I love reading. You make mistakes. Mistakes do not make you. Also, in thinking of our own mistakes or those of others, it is helpful and realistic to think in terms of what we did or did not do rather than in terms of what the mistake made us. One of the biggest mistakes we can make is to confuse our behavior with ourself. To conclude that because we did a certain act, it characterizes us as a certain sort of person. It clarifies thinking if we see that the mistake involves something we do. For example, to say I failed is but to recognize an error and help lead to future success. But to say I am a failure does not describe what you did, but what you think the mistake did to you. This does not contribute to learning, but tends to fixate the mistake and make it permanent. Yeah, it's all about identity. It really is.
That brings up it's so funny that you timed that perfectly. Can I comment on mistakes?
Yeah.
So I'd say top 3 things that I get for sure. It's either I get in my head, can't get out, overthinking, nerves, but also letting go of mistakes is huge. It's like top 3 for sure. If not, it sometimes is number 1. The thing about mistakes is, and I like to break it down the way I look at a mistake is there's a situation and then there's a story about the situation. And so the situation is the mistake. Like, a common one is I messed up. I missed the shot. Another one is I messed up the play. Another one that's common that I deal with because I deal with many sports now is it was a poor pass. That's a big one because then you kind of screwed up the other guy because you didn't give him a good pass. So there's a lot of there's a lot to look at that. But what's interesting is that's a situation. So face value. If we talk about messing up a shot, like you and I are not going to get emotional over that. But when you start to talk about the story about the situation, right? Then what happens is I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Oh my God, I could have done this. Oh my God, I should have done that. And you start to get in that I coulda, shoulda, woulda. But the whole thing is you didn't. So you coulda, shoulda, woulda, but you didn't. And one of my favorite phrases that I literally cannot get away from lately, which I don't think we've talked about before, is it should have happened because it did. And that is a really tough one. Like it's really, really powerful, but it's tough for some people to wrap their head around because, well, what do you mean? You mean like if I got injured like that, you think that's like a good thing? I didn't say it was a good thing. I just said it should have happened because it did. You were overriding. You are undertrained. You had poor technique. Whatever happened should have happened because it did. And when you start to resist reality, that's where you run into problems. And I sometimes will call it like shoulda suffering or should have suffering. Most of your suffering comes from your resistance to what is. And then all of a sudden, if you could just realize like it should have happened because it did, this is the most freeing thing. If you can move into
therefore, how can I learn from it?
Yeah.
It should have happened because it did. Therefore, my only option is to analyze it and learn from it.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could just not even analyze or learn from. I mean,
it's in the past, so technically,
just accept. When you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that to go back to the point though, it's there's a situation and there's a story about the situation, And what sometimes people do is the two are in like one bubble. Like imagine if you had like a circle and they were both in one bubble. So people don't separate them. You need to separate the story about the situation from the situation, because nothing has meaning till you give meaning to it. And it's the story that you create that is causing the problem about the mistake. Because all a mistake is, like, like I work with a lot of tennis athletes at a high level, and the tennis people, when you hit the ball into the net, that's what should have happened because it did. And it's also because your inputs were off and therefore your outputs were off. And so why is there a reaction? Why does there even need to be a reaction to a mistake? That's exactly what should have happened.
Yeah.
It's always what should have happened. So why are you creating this story and being so resistant? And that, of course, is the ego, right?
Yeah. When the emotion typically would come from that because it's a trigger of something that's happened probably multiple times, right? Where it's like you're acting emotionally just out of habit. It's
yeah.
Right?
Oh,
you're not even really mad or what. It's just like
it's automated.
It's automated. Yeah.
You're not even thinking. It's like you said, it's a reaction. And that's why you need to create space so you can fill that with time and choose a different way to respond or even not respond.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love is, and I coach, is the power of just. If you want to find the most sexy word that I'm obsessed with, play around with just. Just is directional, just is intentional, just is, think about how many ways, it's like, oh man, just pay me when you got the money. Or you know what, just stop by whenever. Or you know what, or Nike slogan, just do it, right? Or you know what, or my favorite thing is we have a lot of athletes that practice one way and compete a completely different way, right? Mm-hmm. And they say, well, it's just practice. What do you mean it's just practice? Well, the racing, now all of a sudden racing means something. Oh, well, you might get a trophy. Oh my God. Now it counts. It's like, but do you not understand that the way for you to get better at racing is for you to actually make practice? Like it should be just a race. Practice is where the work is done. That's where you learn all the skills to go and race. But you should really play with I encourage everyone to play with the word just. It is directional, compassionate. It's relaxing. It removes pressure. Which is a big thing, right? People have the pressure to perform, that creates anxiety. The pressure to get a result, that creates anxiety. Just ride, just try it. Just come up a little short on the jump, see what happens. And then just give it a little more throttle next time. You can use the word nonstop. You should play with it.
Interesting. I like that. Mine Moto. Maybe somewhere along that line we answered your question.
Yeah, great question. I really like it.
Mine Moto, I always ask good questions. Also, another person that always asks really good questions, Mike and Andrew. Shout out Mike and Andrew. Dr. J, when setting goals, I tend to end up in the weeds, trying to nail down details and cut the perfect path to the goal. Doing so, I'm not really getting anywhere and lean towards self-consciousness. How do I avoid this? Is it as simple as embracing the randomness and being confident in dealing with the inevitable failures along the way?
Well, there are a couple different ways to look at it. To me, where my mind goes immediately is you don't like what does the goal, once again, you see a goal is typically like an outcome or result. So it's like, what if instead the goal became like a feeling? Feeling's completely within your control, completely tangible. What if because anything that you ever do is for a feeling anyways, right? You make your bed to feel proud. You brush your teeth to feel healthy. Like everything you always do is for a feeling. Mm-hmm. So why not just have the goal of having a feeling? Why not make that the thing? If I want to feel like I want to feel giving right now, like, oh, well, that's completely within my control. It can happen right now. It doesn't have to be some destination in the future. But so whenever you set goals, they tend to be black and white. They tend to be we tend to set goals that are a little higher than they need to be because we're like, oh, well, I'm not going to be like, I'm just going to walk from like, my classic example would be, hey, you want to start working out? Okay, cool. Just do 5 push-ups tomorrow. 5. Well, I can do more than 5. No, I don't care. Do 5. Or even do 1. Or even just, go get dressed and pretend you're going to work out and then don't. At least you moved a little further. But what like with goals, usually they're too big, they're too far away, and they're too black and white. Go with a target and make that target like an emotion. Like, hey, my target is to feel a certain way. And here are the things that I can do that are within my control that I could literally do in a matter of minutes to feel that. I don't know. That's what I would say. Where
I experienced a similar struggle to that was with kind of like shorter term goals of like showing up to a race and being like, okay, tonight the goal is to get whatever place. That would really set my day off not great. I would like almost like act defensively all day because I was like trying to defend the position of trying to achieve that goal. Where instead it is very process driven, where it's just, it's trying to establish a feeling. It's trying to be present in the moment and just execute the thing. Instead of, but what I notice is like, because I give the advice a lot of times on setting really like, let's say a 10-year goal or creating a 10-year vision for me has been really, really important. Like building out what that 10-year vision sort of looks like in my head.
So you're imagining.
Yeah. I'm just creating it in my head.
The goal is to create in your head, really.
Yeah.
Right? I mean.
But with that, the key is when I'm doing that, at least, and maybe I should reread the question, is I'm not thinking about how. I'm not thinking about the how.
Yeah, that was never the focus.
At all. And I think that's where people immediately get kind of astray.
And do you know why?
When setting goals, I tend to end up in the weeds trying to nail down details and cut the perfect path to the goal.
I think you're onto something. Why do you think they struggle with the how?
Well, because they're trying to control every step of the way. And
I think that's a big part of it. And there's a lot of unknowns. Think about it. There's so many unknowns. Well, all right, so I want to get a new job. Where's it going to be? How much should I ask for? What should I leave my job now? It's fine. And you start to, then you think about like how you're going to get somewhere. To your point, you really have to focus on the destination and you will find a way. No different than the example we gave earlier where it's like, what's the destination that we're aiming for? It's like, dude, we need to get this thing filled out. We need to get this form signed or we don't race A1. It was A1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We don't compete at A1 if we don't get this form filled out. We didn't really focus so much on the how as like, we're like, all right, we're going to get, and it was more like, we're going to get this form filled out no matter what. And then the other thing too, is we were excited to figure out how we were going to get filled out as opposed to nervous and worried.
Yeah. And then we just started figuring it out.
And started figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then it's just no different than a maze. We started walking down this way. Oh, end of maze. Turn around, go back, take a right. All right, let's go down here. Oh, even a little further. Oh, another wall. Turn around, go back. It's really no different than a maze.
Yeah. And maybe when people try to play that how game before they even get started, they discourage themselves and are like, nah, forget it. I'm not even going to do it.
Yeah. And the reason
why it's just like start. Just like you had said the thing about working out, like do one push-up or just put your just start.
Yeah.
Just start. And then all of a sudden you're doing it. And then you're not worried about the how because you're just actually doing it.
Yeah.
And you're correcting along the way.
Yeah. And also if you don't know how, that's called doubt. Doubt's the opposing force of confidence. So now all of a sudden, oh, I'm not too confident in myself right now. I don't feel confident. All right. Well, confidence could also be renamed or relabeled motivation. So if you have doubt, you're going to have a lot less confidence, a lot less motivation. So instead, don't have doubt about the how, have confidence in like the end goal, like where you're going to be. And also be at peace with the fact that I'm going to aim for this goal. And if I don't hit it, I really kind of don't care. As much as I want to get to this goal, I kind of don't care if I make it there or not.
When people ask questions like that, it's part of like the story that they've made up for themselves all at the same time too. And I noticed Moto, I've called him out on this a few times, is like a lot of his questions would be very similar. And I'm like, you're the only person making that up for yourself. Mm-hmm. Like just choose to, that's not your reality. You're just making that up. Christian's got a question. Bet you it's a good one. Fear of driving ruts, ... Let's see.
Question. How can I overcome the fear of driving ruts? I feel I still have a lot of fear in driving ruts. You saw me drive it with the Stark in UK, AJ. But if I see me over the years, I always try to not drive ruts. And especially when the track is getting a little bit more moisture over here, the ruts get pretty deep, yeah. and I try to prevent them riding them all the time. I think that is really in my mind. If I storm up to a corner or a spot where there is a straight rut, I immediately slow down and then only speed up in the rut if I need to stay straight.
Christian, great question. Great question. Common thing inside of the Moto Academy too, by the way. A lot of people afraid of ruts. What?
I got a way we can answer this.
Okay, great.
Here's the thing, though. You have to be him.
Okay.
So imagine what's his first name?
Christian.
Christian. So you're a Christian. Based on what he just said, just pretend you're him.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is tell me the fear that you have, and I'm going to ask you one simple question. I'm going to ask you the same question over and over and over again.
Okay. This is right where my head went to.
So what are
I'm
you
really afraid of riding through ruts.
All right. So say like, so you're afraid that what might happen? What are you afraid might happen?
That I might fall.
Okay. So if you do, so then what?
Maybe I could hurt myself.
Okay. So then what?
Then I have to not ride my dirt bike for a while.
Okay. I mean, like, that's all you have to do. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, like that's what, but what are the odds of that happening?
Yeah.
Like you just,
or
lean
also
into the fear.
you do that. This is my strategy. Ask those questions, get them to the root of it. Like that was kind of like the end of the questioning line there, sort of. You could keep going if you wanted. And then you go, okay, is there an option in which you don't end up hurting yourself, and how do you do that? So with like jumping, for example, I'm afraid to crash. Okay. How specifically? Well, I'm afraid to case it. Okay. Well, don't case it then. What happened? What, are you afraid to go long? No. If I go long, I'm fine. I know I can't. Great. Okay. Go long. Don't case it. Problem solved. So with the ruts, it would be that line of questioning and figuring out what that is. So I'm going to assume usually it's because you're afraid to hurt yourself, right? Mm-hmm. What you can't do is then just lump every rut into the category of, well, I'm afraid of this thing because I might hurt myself. You have to assess each rut for what it is and then create a game plan and execute the game plan. So, and Christian's a good rider. Christian is smart. It's like, you just have to look at the line and ask yourself a few quick questions. You could even do this in real time. Like a corner rut. Okay. I'm afraid of getting hurt. Great. How do I avoid that? If I ride up and out of the rut to the outside, what are the consequences? If I fall inside of the rut, what are the consequences? And then you just create a game plan based on that. That's what I do. And it's super logical. I will walk myself through that process in real time in like a rhythm section in Supercross or a whoop section in Supercross. And typically it makes it pretty easy to make a decision. For me, at least. Almost never do I come, and well, no, sometimes I do come to the conclusion of like, I work my way through every hypothetical scenario, and sometimes it doesn't end up well for me in any of those hypothetical scenarios, and then I just don't do it. Mm-hmm. There are some cases where that is the case, right? But very rare. Usually it's, okay, I see this rut, I see this jump. Here are a couple of options of which I can choose. I know how to avoid this one. I definitely know how to avoid this one. I can do this one easily. Let's just stop asking. Let's just do it now.
Yeah, and there's two other ways you can go with this too. Is he kept saying, "Well, I." A lot of I. So he was identifying with his fear. So that was a big one. He created a little bit of separation between his identity and the fear. And so, my body feels, that's what I would say, my body starts to get tense. My body starts to feel tight in my stomach because, and then lean into it. It's because I think about injury. Oh, okay. So that's where the fear is coming from. So he could create a little distance between the feeling of fear and himself, and like say, my body feels this, my body feels that. And that way, at least there's a little bit of separation. Another thing too is, don't forget, the opposing force to fear is faith. So just start creating a faith-based narrative. And then just imagine you are, just to play the game, imagine you actually like ruts. Here's why I like ruts. I like ruts because they're challenging. I also like ruts because, you know what? They're one way to pass people, because a lot of people are fearful of ruts. Thankfully, I'm not. And you can kind of, if you're using your imagination, because don't forget, fear is just using your imagination and believing that things are going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. So use your imagination to believe things are going to go right. lean towards faith in the belief that, yeah, I like it. Create a story that is the opposing story. He's only chosen to believe this story. Like, I don't know how much of it's true. Like, he's just creating this whole narrative. So just create an alternative narrative. Or if you really want to go next level, and this would be the hardest thing to do, but would have an instantaneous reward, which is what's the one thing that is the prerequisite to having a fear? What do you have to be doing in order to fear? You have to think. So if you don't think, how can you have fear? Because all fear is a thought-based thing. So if you were to not think, like, think about when someone's scaling the side of a mountain, like a mountain climber, and they're so in the moment and present that they're doing and not thinking, that they're so immersed in what they're doing that there is no time to have fear because they're just doing the thing. No different than if a fireman goes into a fire and saves a family of 4. He's not thinking like, oh my God, this fire's hot. Oh my God, I hope I don't get singed. Oh my God, I hope I don't die. He's literally going in there and I'm going to grab this family. He's not even doing that. He's just navigating through and letting his body that he trained go in and find where they are and then just do the job. So that's why just do it is so powerful. That's the opposing force to thinking is doing, right? And don't forget, thinking is slow, doing is ridiculously much faster. If you look it up, it's a big difference between thinking and doing. And also, you can't have doubt if you just do. Right?
It's funny how so many of these answers just go right back to being present.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, being present, and I would add to that, like, just for clarity, like, not thinking.
It's tough though because
is it?
It's motocross is like one of the harder this is a story that I made up too, I guess, but I say typically that motocross is a difficult sport to apply the correct mindset in because there is a real life danger.
Yeah, there's truth to that.
Right.
There's no denying.
But if you ask, and there are ways though to, just give yourself. For me, I do really well with giving myself that line of questioning, and then I can just go and just do.
Or just ultimately lean all the way into the outcome, which is worst case scenario, I get injured. If you can find peace with injury, then where's the fear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which that's possible, by the way.
You can do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple, but not easy. But you could definitely do that. I know that any time I raced and I got to that point, because that was a thing for me, because don't forget, I have a paralyzed left foot from an injury. And so it was really, really hard because I've tripped, I fall down all the time. Like it's literally, my leg is junk. Like there's always weird things about it. But anyways, when I got back into racing, I had so many what felt like real fears. I had to lean into it and I had to get my emotions. I almost had to get so, I don't know if the word is angry, but I needed my emotions to be so elevated that I was almost like in my mind, like, you know what, fear, if you want to take my life on the track, I could care less. F you, take me. And then go out. And then at that point, I literally went all the way. That's how far I had to go myself personally, is I had to go to like take my life.
A lot of what I've read, honestly, talks about the value of meditating on death. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of, I guess if you follow the route of the questioning, a lot of the fears maybe would be afraid of dying, right? For a lot of people, you'd get to the line of questioning and you'd ask why, and then maybe it would be fear of loss, or fear of death is a big one. And I was reading, maybe it was Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. There's been so many great books that I've read that have talked a lot about meditation on death, mm-hmm. and basically getting on the other side of the fear of death. And then once they've done that, forget about it. What else is there to lose? In my head, I've already died.
Yeah.
What is there to lose now?
You've already taken the illusion and dissolved it completely.
That's a pretty extreme answer for somebody to ask, like, how do I get past the fear of ruts? But
lean into death. That is great. Right? That is it. Lean into death, bro.
Just get over just lean into death. Meditate on death.
Except that you might die.
Accept death. And then you'll be able to hit ruts. Christian, easy answer. There you go. He'll love that. That's good. Yeah, it's correct, but it's crazy.
It's true, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In theory, it does make sense, but boy, saying it does definitely hit a little differently. I'll take a Red Bull sip.
Wow, that's great. That is hilarious. Shout out Christian. Okay, now we have Allie. Shout out Allie inside of the app. Hashtag podcast questions. Let's see what they've got here.
Hi, JJ. Hi, Dr. J. We have a podcast question for you guys. How do you avoid burnout while training at a high intensity level?
Man, she's awesome. I love her. She came to summer camp with her family. They're maybe the greatest family I've ever met. In
They're
my entire
super
life.
cute, by the way.
How
Precious.
do you? Yeah, articulate. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Not self-conscious like most young girls would
Yeah,
be trying
yeah.
to film a
And
video
it's a
like this.
great
How
question.
many? Allie, I've got a question for you. How many takes did this take? Was this one take?
Training at a high intensity level.
That's a great question.
How do you avoid burnout while training at a high intensity level?
Well, I
Mental
think
burnout is what we'll assume she meant.
yes. So the first place my mind goes is when you're burnt out, it's typically, I feel, because you've put too much of your identity, your sense of self into one bucket. So if I am a motocross athlete, like motocross is everything. That's who I am. That's all I am, right? Essentially, it's what many athletes say. It means everything to me. Okay, but you need to be a bunch of other things. You can't just be a motocross athlete. You have to be a brother, a friend, a grandchild, or whatever, right? You have to have multiple identities. You have to be a good friend to her friend there. So if you go all in on just one identity and that's everything, then I feel like the boundaries start to get too cloudy and there's no boundaries and you just go all in and that's all you do. It's all you think about, right? Because that's what burnout is to me. Is it's almost like you try too hard. Everything's too hard. Like you try too hard, you want it too bad, you think about it too much, and you identify with the result you're trying to attain, which is causing you to burn out too much.
I've burnt out many a times. I feel like now maybe my strategy is that I play the long game a little bit, a lot of it. I have so much belief that I know I'm okay. And so therefore, like I move slowly and I kind of like will take my time in making a decision and I'll point and shoot when I have clarity on something. I'll say no to things. And I know this is maybe a little different than like physically working out, but there's something about that belief and just like take your time a little bit. I think the burnout comes from like the desperation of feeling like you gotta do it right now. Like today I've got to do absolutely everything. And it's like, well, certainly you want to work hard. Yes, but easy.
Yeah.
Have some balance within that.
Yeah.
And you could take your time a little bit. If you know where you're headed and you're chipping away at it.
You just nailed something. I think you tapped onto something. You used the word time. Not every time, many times where I get stressed and I get burned out, it's when the function of time is mismanaged.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden, let's say I want to lose, I don't know, let's say I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to win a race, whatever it is, right? With her, it's probably win a race. Let's say you want to win a race. I want to win a race by the end of the summer. Well, based on like what? And like all it is like, oh, it's like a random thing that we just choose, right? Like, oh, I just want to win a race by the end of the summer. Why does it have to be by the end of the summer? Why can't you just focus? And that's where, once again, you go back to process over outcome. Why don't you work on just figuring out like how you can be a better athlete and each and every day say, how can I, you know this one, I'm becoming 1% better every day in every way. Okay, cool. Let's let that be our destination. If that's our destination, then every day, even if you fail, even if you have a goal for the day that's manageable and you don't hit it, like let's say it's to do one push-up and you don't do the push-up, which is ridiculous, but you still don't do it. Okay, cool. The 1% could come in you wondering, why could I not even find the time to drop to the floor and do one push-up? There's a 1% even in the failure because you could reflect on why you didn't do it, and there's a 1% there for sure. And so there's always a 1% waiting for you. So burnout is also based on like what is your qualifying statement for success? Like what needs to be achieved in order to not burn, to hit your goal, you know? Because that's also what's getting you is there's probably some really distant.
Yeah.
Like
What are you working towards in the first place?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how far away is it? Because the further away it is, the more lack and the more doubt, bring it in. Like, get it within reach.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you working towards in the first place is a good question to ask yourself.
And why is it so important?
Yeah.
And when you're
ask yourself every freaking question humanly possible, because so many times like people are doing things and it's like, why? Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost always that answer. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you like it? No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
all right.
Well. Yeah. Or my favorite thing. Well, yeah, like I literally ask people all the time. I'm like, what do you want? Huh? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself the questions.
Questions
like,
are so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And as a coach, that's our number one tool.
Ask me some questions.
I'm going to ask you a question. You ready?
Yeah.
Wait, let's
ask
do
me
it.
a big one or a small one. Ask me
like
anything.
I liked how you went into like this head down mode. So we do it like this.
Yeah. Ask me a question.
I'm going to ask you a little lower voice.
And watch how I will. Don't want to put pressure on myself, but watch. I'll know the answer.
What feeling do you want to experience as a result of this podcast?
Gratitude.
Ooh. Why is gratitude so important to you?
Because gratitude is, I feel, one of those elevated feelings that I can obtain easily, and it feels good.
Why is an elevated emotion so hard for so many to experience?
Because I think they're just used to feeling not elevated emotions, and so that's what they do over and over and over again.
Why is the fear of unknown so fearful?
Because your ego, your subconscious mind, is only real because it is replaying past experiences. And the unknown is the future. No, actually, the future is known based on past experiences. The unknown is the present moment. And the ego is trying to avoid that.
Curveball time, are you ready?
Yes.
There was a strong smell of race fuel when I pulled into your driveway. Why?
T2, VP, T2, premix 40-1. It went straight into my KDX 200, 1990. Ooh. Freshly refurbished by driver Jamie. And I left the gas petcock on. And it leaked everywhere in my van.
Oh, that was deep, dude.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Wow.
I'm back.
Hopefully you guys meditated with us because that was nice.
Oh, that was great. I was totally immersed in that.
Yeah.
You know what was weird though? The race fuel, I smelt it and it brought me back.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
I didn't realize I was at your
Were you
house.
at A1 just instantly?
I was at A1 side doing full signatures. Wait, is that what we did?
Doing what?
Did we sign it?
I think there might have been a reality where you might.
Oh my God! In that meditative state. Wait.
I don't totally remember, but I feel
Did I
like
sign it?
I feel like we checked off some boxes on a thing that like said we had done the EKG or something.
Yeah, there was something. I think we flirted with sketchiness.
Well, we also might have flirted.
Oh my God!
Right? I think we distracted. It was a woman doctor.
Yeah.
I think, and we were like,
yes,
we were really like. We had her so distracted that I think she actually honestly missed the fact that
is what it was.
That page was already kind of checked off and she should not have gone ahead and
we tag teamed it.
Yeah.
And then I started talking about one thing and oh my God.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, check the next box. Yeah, I'm sure you must love your job. Oh my God, who does your hair? Oh, by the way, you forgot to check here. Give me your hand for a second. Yeah, okay, good. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And it wasn't. We went to a couple of places, I think, attempting before we got to her, right? It wasn't attempt one.
Oh, God, that was definitely not.
But for whatever reason, when we got in with her, it was like we were firing on all syllables.
Yeah, it was like it was attempt 6 at A1. It was at A7 at A1.
It was Friday at 3:58 p.m. and that place was closing at 4 type of thing.
Yeah, it literally was like that. Mm-hmm. That was if I had a resume, like if I knew I was like gonna check out, and I was like, wow, man, I want to get some like beachfront. Like in heaven or wherever I go, like I would put that on my resume.
Man, we have so many probably crazy stories we could tell.
We do. Are those all the questions in the app?
No, but I don't want Allie to murder me. Holy moly, hang on. Wait, those might have been all the ones in the app. We have more, but they're from ones that aren't in the app.
Okay.
So are we going to just leave those people hanging?
I'd say pick at least 2, and we'll give our briefest, most succinct, Allie-friendly answer.
Okay, let's see.
Did we take care of this?
What?
Did we do this?
I did.
Oh.
You didn't?
No, I mean, did you do the ad?
Yeah, I did. It was supposed to be done organically.
It was organic.
So I did it so organic you didn't even know what happened.
And here I am consuming the product. It worked.
What is playing right now?
That's not your meditate. How do you meditate, by the way? What's your version of meditation?
I have a bunch of different versions. So how do I stop how do I stop doubting myself is the question. But can I answer your question first? Let's see. I'll give you an example. So last night, and I do this every night, and I just found a good, I find spots where I'd like to stand and do it. I found a spot in the front yard where I have a visual of the French house up the hill. I have a visual of a couple of the other houses that are lit up really nice at night. And it's just like I'll go eyes closed, but then when I open and I kind of alter, I go back and forth between eyes closed, and then I'll open my eyes for quick moments just to kind of feel grateful for like where I am right here and take a look around really quick, and maybe I'll close my eyes again. Very simple explanation is I just do 3 sets of 10 breaths, 10 inhales and exhales, and I hold the 10th inhale, and then I hold the 10th exhale, and then I do 3 full sets of that. So it's just basically deep conscious breathing, eyes closed. I get derailed the whole time, just like anybody does when they meditate.
Come back.
Another one that I've been doing lately, and it works really well, especially for cold plunging, is a mantra. And I'm not my body, I'm not my mind. And I learned that from Sadhguru. And for whatever reason, I'm not my body on my inhale, I'm not my mind on my exhale. That helps me get into cold water. It's just the most helpful one for that. I have a few other mantras that maybe I'll repeat. But simple. I can every day, probably 10 to 15 times throughout the day, I just take moments to like take even if it's just 5 really nice, good, deep inhales through the nose. And maybe I'll do it with eyes open. Maybe I'll do it with eyes shut. And man, I just feel so good. And the more I practice it, the quicker I can kind of access just maybe it probably is what is happening. I would guess is I'm going from like that beta, the high beta of just like daily activity and chaos to I'm able to drop down into alpha like within 10 seconds. And it feels nice. It's a good reset.
Yeah, and you can even do even more basic. Sometimes I'll just kind of like, people are like, dude, you're just zoned out. Like, dude, are you like, sometimes you just kind of stare at something and just kind of like check out for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I sometimes that's my version of meditation. Like that simple. There is no process for it. It's just zoning out.
Yeah.
And it's emptying. I basically look at it as emptying my mind.
Yeah.
I just take a glass that is full of water.
So what would you describe your
thinking and just dump it out?
What would you describe your goal?
The goal is to empty the mind.
Okay.
Be free of thought.
Okay.
I don't even want to have a feeling. I just want to be free of thought.
Yeah. And what happens when you have a thought? Inevitably.
I've gotten pretty good with it, but when I do have a thought, it happens, and then I don't even know how to explain it. I just go back.
Yeah.
Like I don't resist it.
So you go back. Like, is your anchor a focal point? Like, you go back to looking at whatever you were looking at?
Yeah, I always look at one thing.
Yeah, that's good. So like having an anchor is important. For me, it's almost always my breath, but I do it with visual cues too, to where like, yeah, just staring at that same point. And then if you get distracted, I played this little game during meditation the other day out back where I rotated full 360 degrees over like a maybe 20-minute period of time. So I would spend not long, but maybe like 2 to 3 minutes facing one direction just doing my best to just take in everything that was within my sight, standing that one direction. And it was crazy to me how badly my body wanted to keep turning in circles to see the other stuff that I wasn't looking at. I'm like, and I'd catch myself being like, why am I in such a hurry to face that way? Like, I could spend all day facing this one direction and seeing things that I had never seen before, whether it's up in the tree or further in the distance or down in the grass or on the fence. There's a million things I could look at and be grateful for without having to spin or turn my body any direction. But it's so easy to want to, and that's why I guess what meditation is like you try to empty the mind and just separate, like become that observer, observe the thoughts, let them go. And the thoughts that come to me when they do come is usually like, all right, let's get to the next thing. Even when I'm walking, like when I walk back from that meditation, I have to catch myself 20 times on that walk. Slow down. Why am I now in a hurry to get back to the house? To do what? Like walk slower. I tell Allie to do that all the time. We were in New York City the other day. Talk about it. Good place to practice mindfulness is in New York City, but it's like, slow down. Why are we walking so? Slow down. Yeah. Step slower. Like be more mindful, like how you're walking.
You're always in a rush to get to a destination, and once you get to the destination, you're not even there because you're in a rush to get to the next.
Yeah, and over and over and over again. I think everybody probably struggles with that. I really do, and Allie and I will catch ourselves too. Like you talk up. This is a great example. Like we're going to France next week at some point. You spend all the time now talking about how nice that experience is going to be. And then you find yourself sitting in a beautiful restaurant in France talking about where you're going to go next. And it's like, huh? How about we just be here for a second?
Yeah. And then you end up never being in the now because you're always in the future.
Yeah.
And the future doesn't even exist. Only the now does, which makes it even crazier.
Yep. It's an insane thing. And it's the human condition though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Truly, like that is the human condition, is falling unconscious and living in the past or living in the future. And I don't want to say it's difficult to be present, but it's a practice. Mm-hmm. That's why meditation is called a practice. That's why all of these, Buddhism, it's a practice. You will get better at it, but it's a process, and you never become a master. You never completely figure it out. You will always have moments where you fall unconscious. Yeah, but it's fun because you catch it. You say the wrong word for a second and like you identify with a certain way of like verbalizing. You're like, oh no, yep, just kidding. Or you just be sitting there like trying to empty your mind, and all of a sudden a thought rolls in, and you're able to recognize that as just like the thought up in the cloud, and it can drift away. For me, I visualize cars on the highway driving by, and what you don't want to do is you don't want to hop in a car and continue driving down the highway. You just want to watch them drive by. As soon as you hop in one, you've now attached to that thought, and now you're following that stream of whatever that thought is. So you got to get back out of that car and just watch the cars go by again.
Yeah, my stream is actually a stream with two leaves. I don't know why. There's an orange one and a red one, and I just watch them go by. I'm like, that's the thought. It's like, oh, here comes the thought. There it goes.
That's a good one. I like streams.
I don't have to identify with any of it. Mm-hmm. And also I sometimes will, I don't know, I think about the death thing, and I go back to the idea of I'd rather be experiencing pain right now and feeling that emotion than not feeling anything, because that's the alternative. That's a potential alternative. There will be a day where I will feel nothing.
We're just lucky to be here, experiencing, being able to have the consciousness to experience all of the things. Let me see what I dog-eared something here. Let's see what it was.
That book's a hard read.
Which one?
I was challenged.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself?
Being Yourself took me forever to read that.
Really?
It's easy for you?
When did you read it?
When I was about, actually more like this. No, like 2 years ago.
Okay. You should try reading it again. I think it's different stroke. Like everybody resonates with different things. I thought it was easy. I resonate so much with everything Joe Dispenza says. It just it clicks with me.
Yeah. He's gotten a little too like cure your body-ish.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Like, oh, you have a terminal brain tumor.
Yeah, but
like,
it's amazing though what that like so basically to create a to preface what we're talking about, he will have massive seminars with thousands of people there. By the way, paying thousands of dollars each.
$2,500.
And it's like a large group meditation over the course of 7 days. And his goal is to get as many people in that room operating at like gamma. So you've got beta, alpha, theta, delta, which would be like you're straight up asleep. And then I don't know why you go through them in this order, but gamma is like the highest vibration that you could be at. And they're able to do these meditations to get a large portion of that audience in gamma, and people will experience like miraculous healings. They'll go in paralyzed, they'll come out not paralyzed, they'll go in blind, come out and being able to see, cancer come out cured, Alzheimer's come out cured. And I believe in that. Like I really do. So I think a lot of the stuff he's been talking about recently is they've just been having more and more universities and like doctors coming and doing studies, all different types of studies at these things. And so all these amazing, crazy results are coming out. One of the studies he was talking about was a study that they did in rats where they had a young rat and an old rat, and they took blood and something, and the young rat was then able to it experienced some of the things from the older rat. And the older rat was able to then like be however many years younger biologically. So they specifically paired up a bunch of people at these seminars with a 30-year age gap or more, and spent the whole, so you got your 7 days straight was spent with that person next to you the entire time. And the results were like insane, where the young person was able to, I don't know how they got the data of I don't know what the data was, but like the wisdom and the knowledge of the young person like went tenfold. Like they were able to gather that from the old person. The old person, like stem cells, or there's something to where like they were a younger person biologically by like 20 years after the 7 days had gone, just by being in the environment of somebody that was younger or older than you. There's so many amazing things. And I just read a book called Autobiography of a Yogi. And the whole book is him just talking about his different accounts with different yogi masters and the things that they were able to do. Levitation, reincarnation, like coming back to life as somebody else, but then they were conscious of it. So they were able to go find the yogi master who, I mean, the stories in this book are insane, but I kind of believe him, because like when you get to, you can create this certain feeling and get to that certain state where it's like you can create, like you kind of can create what you want.
I think it's cool to believe in just being limitless.
Yeah.
You know, which can happen by doing that. I don't need to know if it's true. I'd rather just believe it to be true. Why does something have to, like, why can't you just believe it to be true?
Yeah.
Like, well, think about how many people believe in gods and they have no proof. Other than like, you know, well, I'm not saying no proof, but you know, maybe there's symbols, maybe there's stories, but like, have you actually met the person?
You just have to take a look around at how miraculous everything is.
Yeah. Why not believe? Like, why can't you just believe?
To me, it's all a miracle.
And if you can, and here's the whole thing too, is if you can believe in a God, why can't you believe in yourself?
Yeah. If that's kind of a mantra that I will tell other people, it's like, I believe in others. I believe in everyone. Therefore, I believe in myself. It's as simple as that. I caught some flack maybe a few months ago now. I don't remember when this was, because on a podcast, was it with Rob or was it with somebody? I said that I believe that if I train for 5 years like a pro athlete, dedicated 5 years, right now being the person that I am now, I could win a 250 Supercross championship. And
I believe that.
it got posted with no context.
Oh, God.
And it set the freaking industry on fire. People did not like that. But
who are you to believe in yourself? How dare
I
you?
believe the foundation of me saying that is because it's an experiment. The reason I even said that is because I would want to do it as an experiment because I believe in everything and everyone. Like I believe that everybody's limitless. I really do. And therefore, obviously, I believe that I'm limitless. Mm-hmm. And why not try an experiment?
Yeah, you're talking about process over outcome. You don't even care whether you reach it or not.
Couldn't care less at all.
Yeah.
In fact, the fact that it even got posted without context and everybody was absolutely hating on it, like all pro, like, who cares?
Exactly.
Right? I believe that there is a potential future world where in 5 years from now that could be a reality. Yeah. Can you prove otherwise? No. So why can't I think that? And why can't I work towards it? And if I shoot for the stars and end up on the moon, great, because I've been killing that process the whole time and enjoying every single second of it anyways. So, maybe if you learned anything from this podcast, if you can think to learn like that and be convinced that, or just live like that, I mean, your life will completely change.
And why not enjoy the fact that someone has the courage to believe that they can do something and that they do believe that they're limitless? Why project your insecurities and, who's he to think that? That's all ego-based.
Yeah, well, that's your subconscious speaking in like, oh, well, it's not possible for him because that's not the reality that I live in.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And so that's why it didn't align. Like when you say it aligns with me because I'm like that. You and I have a similar belief system.
Yeah.
Like I think about the numbers that I could make, and I always think 8333, which you know what that is per month. That's $1 million a year. Is 83,333. You didn't know that?
No, I always my goal always was to get to 100,000 a month, which it overshot the million a year.
Yeah, that's my goal is 100,000 a month because I know that if I aim for that, then I can hit 8333. But I don't.
So 8333 is what gets you exactly to $1 million?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
But I don't think that I can get to 83,333 focusing on 83,333.
No.
I don't think that's.
I got to more than 8333 when I changed my bigger number to a much bigger number. I actually multiplied it by 100.
Oh God! That was a little wild.
Yeah, but then I overshot 8333 a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just keeps on going up because I just keep
because you believe that you're limitless.
Yeah.
So why should?
Well, I keep getting better every day in every way.
Yeah.
So obviously it's going to keep going up.
It has no choice but to.
Yeah. Yeah. Life is freaking awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. When you figure out it's fun, how could I can have fun with this?
Yeah.
Like I'm excited after this. I'm going to go home and play guitar for the second time in my life. I'm excited that I'm going to suck, but I'm going to figure out how not to suck.
And all of this also could be taken away and I'd still love all of it.
Yeah.
That's the cool part. Like,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Take that Jordan jersey away. Don't need it.
Well,
actually, I should give that away. That'd be a good giveaway. We should do that for trip giveaway, or 12 days of Christmas. Keep that?
Keep that.
Yeah?
I'd keep that.
Why?
I mean, that's kind of like a vibe. You know what? You know why? I'll give you the answer. When I turned around, I didn't know it was there. When I turned around and saw it, I completely went away for a minute. I felt that there's like an energy to that thing. Dude, that thing's sick.
Yeah.
That's iconic.
Cool. Yeah.
Then you have to keep. This shirt, you probably give that away.
Yeah, I could give that away.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, JCav. Maybe we can hang out more. Maybe not.
We probably can't because you don't talk to your friends, and I consider myself a friend. So
yeah,
it was really good seeing you.
But that's a reality that
you've created.
I've made that up, and I've decided I'm changing that.
All right.
I decided just now I'm changing that.
So what does it look like for you to change that?
I'm going to start periodically reaching out to people.
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be much.
No.
Hey, what's up?
I'll just maybe say hi in a text. So if you get a text of just HI, just know that I'm trying.
Yeah, that's a sign.
Yeah. Rob has a friend that he introduced me to him. His name is Dave Jacks. Lives in Arizona. Probably, I didn't recognize this until somewhat recently. Probably like the highest level person that maybe I'd ever met. super Christian, but like, man, this guy is a good person in every way. He is so amazing. And he just called me and left me a voicemail. Listen to this voicemail. Just listen to this voice. It's gonna make me smile just listening to it. He had to help somebody in the middle of the voicemail.
It's D-Jack. What is up, my brother? Hold on one second. You guys okay? Okay. Is there anything we can do to help? Hold on, I'm gonna come right. I'm gonna finish this message. We're just hiking on a mountain here, man, and someone's down, so we're see if we can be of service. But just wanted to let you know, I woke up this morning, was hiking with a buddy who just loves following your brand. He came to one of the races, my friend out here, and put the shirt on that you gave me in honor of you, and then he was just talking about how much he loves what you're doing, how he watches your stuff all the time, and how you're doing such an incredible job of what you share. And then I'm hiking in the trails, and I run into a guy who was a former pro rider in the Ricky Carmichael days, a guy named Tim Roth. Didn't make it big, but he's like, I follow AJ all the time. He puts out amazing stuff. I've watched him grow so much as a human being, which I thought was the greatest compliment to you over the last 5 years. He's like, I'm actually thinking about going out to his training here in Casa Grande in like a month or so. So today was the day for me to reach out to you, brother, and I'm sending blessings your way and hope all is well, and somewhere, some way to cross your path again. Peace, bro.
What a nice message to receive, right?
It's a gift. Yeah, that's awesome.
It took 1 minute and 17 seconds of his time. And so I called and left him a similar voice message, and I was hoping he wasn't going to answer so I could just leave him one kind of like that. But that's what it doesn't take much of my time to let other people know that I'm thinking about them. And that can go a long way. I don't need a voice message like that, but when I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, what an amazing person. Right?
Yeah, and think about it, even just the message that you could send that says, I was just thinking about you.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable enough in my masculinity to send that to a dude.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be a hot chick who's half my age.
Just
Shout out
thinking
to
about
my
you.
wife.
Thinking about you. Just kept thinking about you, kissy face.
Yeah, exactly.
Heart.
Oh, hey, one thing I want to say that I feel is important, it's pretty cool. A lot of people believe that they're not good enough. And so sometimes catch this. If you believe that you're not good enough, how can you ever believe that you are? You can't, because the belief is I'm not good enough. So you'll never be good enough because there's no end point. You can't get there. And so one of the things I encourage people to do is just remember peace, pursuit, peace. You wake up in the morning, you start at peace. Peace that I am enough as I am right now. I don't need more. I am amazing. Everything is great. I have everything I could ever possibly need. And really, you have to feel it. Don't just think it. You have to feel it. And you have to really almost get kind of like when we had our heads down and we were talking, I felt like I went there. I kind of drifted away at the Jordan thing.
Can we do a whole podcast like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
If I fall asleep, will you wake me
Yeah.
And then, so what you do is you start at peace, and then that I am enough, and then pursue
From there.
after peace, from peace, and so you start your morning at peace, pursue throughout the day, but then once again, before you go to bed, you go back to peace. So it's almost like a peace sandwich, It's peace, pursuit, peace. And I think it's important because so many of us that, one thing I've learned recently is that there's a ton of successful people that I've had the pleasure of working with, and a lot of them, the interesting thing is they don't believe that they're good enough. And there are some people that don't believe they're good enough and end up doing horrible things and living a life that's not all that honorable. But there's also just as many people, I feel, that don't believe they're good enough, but then that's almost kind of like their fear, that the fire that fuels them. But then that fire can also come at a cost that you're never satisfied. And I think that it's okay to be satisfied for at least a moment, maybe a moment or two in the morning, 2 minutes a day, 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night. Then you can pursue and chase more, being more, feeling more.
When you ask for the feeling that I try to summon, that gratitude is the one, and that's, I start in the morning with that, and that's the peace. It's I am enough, and you create that feeling by being grateful for the things that you have. Like, I have my health. I'm sitting here I can breathe. Man, it smells nice when I breathe. Like, it's beautiful. Like, whatever it is that you choose to be grateful for in that moment, you are enough. I am enough. Great. And my daily check-ins throughout the day are that also. So I not only do that in the morning, and I also do it at night, but I'm doing that periodically throughout the day to almost like recalibrate in a way. Yeah, and that's great advice, because what that will do, that will make you'll be on like the right path. I think a lot of people are motivated for the wrong reasons. And they might even be successful, materially successful, with no fulfillment on the inside. Because they were chasing it for the wrong reasons right from the get-go. So if you come from a place of like, I am enough already, and everything else is just icing on the cake, then that's when you enjoy the new truck, right? You enjoy the new truck when you like couldn't care less if you had that truck or not, to be quite honest.
This morning I thought about selling it. I was like, I could sell this right now. Because I don't care, like, it doesn't matter. As much as I love it, I also don't need it.
Yeah. And that's when you enjoy it even more. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was great. Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Well.
Oh no.
Have you looked at that recently?
No, I don't think. Your mic wasn't on.
No, my mic was on. It recorded almost everything. Let's do a quick test, I'll tell you.
Oh my god. Wait, what did you see that didn't look good?
The freaking... I'm going to blame this on somebody other than myself. The card wasn't cleared prior to doing this because my guys hadn't taken it off on their end yet. I always put everything in Dropbox for them. And so it filled up.
Can they do it remotely?
Which was my fear. They can pull the audio from that camera, which is going to sound horrible, but I'll be able to tell you in 2 seconds how far I made it. Or will I? It's trying to pull up in freaking Apple Music. What is that about?
Please not be 38 minutes.
Oh, that's, man. I don't know when the last time I looked at it was.
I didn't even know where.
Hour and 54 minutes is what this says, so that's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
Why isn't volume coming out?
What's the speaker hookup? Are you hooked up to, what's the output?
My computer. Maybe that's just the wrong track. Hang on, let me try this one. No, not double click, you freaking moron. Oh. Alright, hour 53:50. Talking about Jay Jackson. So we made it pretty much that entire way.
Oh, okay.
At least. I think it died right... it died right before I listened to the voicemail.
Oh, no! Are you
which sucks, because that was a cool clip.
That was really cool.
But, editor's note, maybe you can adjust the audio from the camera, Ethan. Let's hope.
Oh, that was really, really good.
Dang. But that's okay. He might be able to pull it from that. Dang it, I knew that was going to happen. It said 11 hours on it, but I knew it was wrong.
How did you know by looking at this device that it was
Because it wasn't red anymore.
Oh.
And when it's recording, it's red. So right away I was like, 11:26, J. This is so convenient though, because what I do is when I get done recording, I just drop it right in this Dropbox, and forget about it, and then they can take care of it.
So good. That is so huge.
Where's that playing from now?
Probably still on iTunes.
There we go. Okay, well.
Not bad.
Did we even end the podcast?
No, it ended automatically.
But we didn't get a chance to sign off even for those cameras?
No. Should we just do a sign off and just like go walk towards one? Do a cheesy one?
Well, so here, just get into frame. Okay, technical difficulties, but that's what we do here at the Moto Academy. Best podcast in motocross featuring J Cav. Check them out. Toodles.
Toodles.
You did it.